On the 20th of October, the cultural quarter of Leicester was transformed into a buzzing region of live music, with 15 stages containing around 200 acts of varying genres. This was all in aid of Oxfam, and for the past 6 years they've been organising music festivals throughout the UK to help combat poverty in third world countries. This is Oxjam. Hello, I'm Ben Potter, and today I'm here to give you an insight into the people that made the Oxjam Live Thread event possible. Both live acts and volunteers dedicated their whole day to making the Oxjam Festival the success that it is. I'm currently stood in the cultural quarter of Leicester, the backdrop of the festival, and behind me is the Thread, one bar that played host to many live events on the day. It was Mark Lyle from community radio station Demon FM that was a key organiser for this venue. We sent our reporter Matt Smith to have a word with him about Oxjam.
Thank you, Mark, for joining us.
No worries.
What did your role entail with the Oxjam event?
My role was a few things. I stage managed for Thread, which was a venue I didn't even know existed until the event. I managed most of the media for the event, along with all the Demon FM media for it.
How did you get involved with Oxjam?
I kind of just fell into it. It was one of those things where a friend was doing something for Oxjam and she put me in touch with the organiser, who I didn't know was the organiser until I went and met her. And then she just said, "Do you want to do all this?" And I was like, yeah, all right. And yeah, one thing led to the other. And
So it just came about, basically?
Yeah, I mean, I put myself forward for stuff and said, yeah, well, I'll just do the media for it, because that's what I do.
What did you set out to achieve?
I mean, the main one was kind of just to promote Demon FM, the event. It's a charity event, so you need more promotion for it, and just to get people down. I think it went quite well.
What's different about the Thread event compared to the events on the day?
Thread was... It was a bit more vibrant than some other venues. Like, the festival did get a bit quiet, but we constantly had at least 50 to 75 people in there, and then when the bigger bands came on, more people just appeared out of nowhere. So it was good. I think we had, in my opinion, the best venue.
In the Thread alone, 13 acts played over the space of 9 hours. Bands including Watson and Wigmore, Best Served Chilled, Kenworthy, Oxfam has a history dating back 70 years to the 1940s during the Second World War, and the Beatles were the first major act to support their cause. Oxfam first raised awareness for their £1 Million Hunger campaign back in 1963, with Oxjam first appearing on the scene back in 1993 when they attended their first Glastonbury festival. This would help build a legacy of festival steward volunteers that continues to this day. Ever since, they've provided stewards, campaigners and shop staff to more than 100 major UK events, raising £5.8 million in the process. With further involvement in festivals and live music events, the charity soon elaborated on their ambitions, and in 2002 popular artists united to help host the London Fair Play concert. Chris Martin and Johnny Buckland from Coldplay, Noel Gallagher and Miss Dynamite all performed at a special Oxfam benefit to raise awareness for the Make Trade Fair campaign. As Oxfam gained experience in both charity funding and live music, they decided to expand into events management. In 2006, Oxjam ventured onto stages across the UK. The first UK-wide music festival launched with 3,000 events, organised and promoted by supporters all over the country. Oxjam was born, and music was amplified from city to city, all united under the same banner to raise awareness for famine across the world. Behind the strong foundations of volunteering it's easy to forget that the performers themselves were recruits. We took a closer look at some of the acts and asked them what their thoughts were on the day.
Oxjam has managed through the years, by involving people from all these different corners and areas of Leicester, to bring all these different bands and scenes together. And I think that's one of the things that I always find exciting. Not to mention the way they take over the city. Like this year it was the Cultural Quarter, the year before that it was the Bronston Gate area. And we don't get street parties and festivals outside in Leicester.
We're only just starting, and to be able to do something that makes a difference is fantastic. I mean, you know, I vaguely knew about it last year, but didn't know much. And when you get involved and sort of see what's going on, it's just brilliant to see the impact it can have.
You know, everybody comes in with this attitude that I'm there to support and give selflessly and not really get anything back from it other than the vibes themselves and the experience. So that alone, I think, sets a really good tone for all these different crews to come together and work in unity, which we really need in the city. We need more, you know, more engagement between these different groups, the artists groups, the visual artists and the musical artists, the theatres, the different approaches to art that we have that generally stays in their own little corner, you know. And I think Oxjam, somehow, by approaching all these people and allowing everybody to have their own stage and to do it their own way, manages to do that.
Leicester's Oxjam features many bands from the local music scene, as well as a host of acts from as far as Scotland. The success of an event all lies down to the team behind the scenes. Oxjam local organisers play a key role to ensure that each festival runs smoothly, and with the festival gaining more and more success each year, the pressure is always on to provide the community with an interesting lineup. Behind me is the headquarters for Leicester's Oxjam event, where everything was put into place. We had the pleasure of catching up with the organiser.
Hi Anna, thanks for joining us.
No problem.
How successful was the festival compared to other years?
We perhaps didn't raise as much money as the one when we were involved in 2010. We raised over £20,000 that year, but we were very successful. We still raised about £12,000 to £13,000. In terms of the legacy of Leicester, it gets better and better every year. We ended up having about 20 venues involved, which is great for Leicester's music scene.
What did Oxjam aim to achieve?
Essentially, what Oxjam wants to achieve is to raise as much money as possible to go towards solving poverty and inequality around the world. It also wants to bring local music and local people together to essentially create a global impact.
How important are the volunteers to the Oxjam Festival?
You can't do it without the volunteers. It's run totally by volunteers. That includes the bands, the sound technicians. We have a core team of about 6 people, generally speaking, and then that ends up growing and growing and growing towards the end of the festival. Eventually you end up recruiting from both universities. Both supplied us with about 50 volunteers on either side, so you know that's the kind of scale we're looking at.
What are the ambitions of the Oxjam Festival next year?
I don't think it can actually get any bigger. I think it becomes slightly too unmanageable. I think it's to maintain the smooth running of it. Leicester's probably the best well known throughout the country, and I think it's to make sure that that kind of status is kept and is pushed, and fundamentally it's just to raise more and more money and to become the most successful one, really.
Thanks for the interview, Anna.
No problem.
So another successful year for Oxjam, and it's first for the Thread. It's been good to go behind the scenes to see how the festival works and how it's run, and hopefully in the years to come, it'll only get better.